So the more we try to not think about it, the amygdala is trying to protect us. It's like an overprotective parent. If the child is going to harm's way and they're telling you, I'm fine, mom, I'm fine, mom, are you going to just allow them to go? No. If you see them going into harm's way, you're going to do whatever it takes to get them to stop. And that's what the amygdala does. And so if you are able to say it out loud, so the first round, I always tell people to say exactly what you're thinking. I feel like something bad's going to happen. I feel like I'm going to die. I feel like I'm having a heart attack. And you can say everything that you feel about the situation, about how you feel, your thoughts. And if you say them out loud, the amygdala kind of relaxes a bit.
2, 1, 0.
Hello and welcome to Stellar Alive Podcast. If you are listening to this show today, that means that you might have experienced a little bit of anxiety lately, or you probably know someone who did, because we all do. Life can be really stressful, and the more you put your mind into learning the best techniques to release your anxiety, the better you're going to be. So thank you for being here, and you should give yourself a little hug for taking the time to learn something new or remind yourself of something that will make you feel better, because you deserve the best. Dr. Lisa Cortez is a highly respected psychotherapist, anxiety expert, entrepreneur, podcaster, and public speaker. She campaigns for improved mental health treatments, advocacy, and policy change to help normalize mental wellness. With over 24 years of experience in the mental health field, she has helped thousands overcome fear, doubt, and anxiety. In this interview, we talked about her personal story and how she had to deal with anxiety herself, and how she helps thousands deal with their anxiety and feel free and happier. She shared stress releasing techniques. She shared an amazing tip to heal insomnia, and even what teas can help you release stress and anxiety. I hope you will enjoy the show. And if you're feeling a little down today, I hope you will feel better and stronger than ever. Because it's like that, we're not always happy and cheerful, and we have all the emotions, and all the emotions are welcome, because our emotions are our teachers. And it's okay to feel them, and it's okay to deal with them, and it's okay to love yourself, because like my mentor said, Dr. Martini, whatever you did or did not do, you are worthy of love. And now, without further ado, on to the show. Hi, Dr. Lisa. Thank you for being here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yes, so I'm glad you're here, because we're going to talk about something that is touching almost everyone. I think everyone at some point or another. But before we begin, maybe you can share with me one of your favorite childhood memories.
Childhood memories. It wasn't my favorite growing up, but it became my favorite after I understood what my mom was doing. My mom always forced me and my siblings to drink a cup of tea, a warm cup of tea, and she would force us to sit at the kitchen table. And I always thought it was because she wanted us to sit there so we wouldn't spill the tea in the living room or in our bedroom. But she was teaching us mindfulness, to stay
Oh,
still and drink tea, which is very beneficial for us. And so those are my favorite memories.
yes, and you have a tea brand,
I do,
right?
yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
hated tea growing up, and I would and I when I was diagnosed with anxiety, I called my mom and I told her, this is happening, and she recommended a cup of tea. I'm Mexican, I'm Latina, right? And so she wants to cure everything with a cup of tea, and I tell people that, I was when I hung up the phone, when I spoke to her and told her I was experiencing anxiety, and she told me that, I hung up thinking, why did I call her? I knew she was going to recommend tea. And here I am
Mhm.
years later selling tea.
Well, I mean, yeah, moms know a lot. That's what I tell my son. Like, you should listen to me.
They don't realize that until they're adults.
Yeah, that's for sure. So how did you know that you have anxiety, and what caused it?
So growing up, I think I always had it, but because my mom was teaching me mindfulness, I don't think it ever developed into severe anxiety. Also, because I didn't know, I always tell people now that we know more about it, because we know it, we fear it. And so it's easier for us to develop anxiety. But it wasn't until I left to college. I left home after graduating from high school. I moved to San Antonio, Texas, where I went to school, and I started eating junk food.
Mm,
I am lucky enough to say that I was poor growing up,
mm,
and we didn't eat fast food at all. It was once a month when my dad got paid, and we would go to Burger King.
mm,
And that was it. My mom cooked, whole foods, homemade foods. Um, and then when I went to college, it was eating at the cafeteria, eating sandwiches, eating at the restaurant that I worked at. We got free meals. And so I was eating a lot of processed foods. And then I was stressed out. I was working three jobs, going to
wow.
school full time. Yeah, my parents couldn't afford to send me money. So I had to really find work. And so, yeah, working three jobs, not taking care of myself, staying up late, I think was the cause of my anxiety, and also change. Change for me is really hard. And so moving to San Antonio, um, and just the schedule, it was hard for me.
Mm, wow. And and how did you heal it? How did you help yourself?
So I started, so when I first had my first panic attack, it was my freshman year in college. And then I was fine for 3 years. And then it was my senior year in college. I had already decided, I was already graduating with a bachelor's degree in psychology. I was applying to grad schools to go to a program I wanted to get my master's and then my PhD. And so I was applying to different um, graduate programs. And just the thought of leaving college, not knowing where I was going to end up, the change was, I think, really stressful for me. And so that senior year, I started experiencing severe panic. And back in the 90s, this was back in the 90s, it wasn't really talked about much. Anxiety was not very common. You
Mm,
wouldn't hear a lot about it. And I remember going to one of my professors, and she told me it's anxiety. You need to take care of yourself. She's the one that asked me, "What are you doing? What are you doing different?" And recommended I go see a therapist. She also recommended I do some sort of mindfulness meditation. So I started just kind of learning more about anxiety. I fell in love with finding what works for me. um, I did get prescribed medication, but I never took it. Never took medication. And so I went on a journey of just trying to figure out what worked for me.
mm.
Um, and found that meditation was incredible. I have rheumatoid arthritis. I was diagnosed when I was 21, severe
Wow,
pain.
that's
Yeah,
really early for that.
very early. Yeah. Yeah, it's an autoimmune disease, so usually it does affect you in your 20s.
Mm,
And so yeah, I was experiencing a lot of pain, and when I started meditating, it was life-changing for me. And I started eating better. I started just taking care of myself, sleeping, and finding out that doing all these things that you can heal your anxiety naturally. I think back then, because we didn't talk about anxiety, I'm not against medication, but I'm glad that I did it that way, because there's a lot of people that come to me that don't ever want to get on medication. And
Mm.
so, I tell them that it's possible to change these things. And some people will need medication, but it's really also easy to take care of your anxiety and eliminate it with just, teaching your nervous system how
Mhm.
to rewire again and how to work. And so that's what I did. I went on a journey, and here I am years later, 24 years working in the mental health field, helping people
Wow,
with anxiety.
that's amazing. So, what is anxiety? Like, what are the symptoms of it? What's the definition?
I always tell people anxiety is a normal emotion. We all experience anxiety. Just like sadness, right? When you have depression, sadness is one of the side effects. Anxiety is a normal emotion. It's created in the amygdala, which is a part of the brain. We actually have two amygdalas, but we refer to it as the amygdala. And it's there and it's created to keep us safe. So when you go into a room, and if there's a big lion that's going to eat you, it's going to create anxiety for you to run. And so it creates physical symptoms. It pumps oxygen to our muscles so we can be able to run. It creates different symptoms. There's people that have heart palpitations, shallow breathing, dizziness, blurred vision, sweaty palms. There's so many different symptoms, but it creates that in order for us to run and to get out of harm's way.
Right, and in severe cases, it can even resemble a heart attack. There's a lot of people that are actually calling an ambulance, and then it's all the symptoms, but it's only anxiety. Not only, but it's anxiety.
Yeah, because you actually get physical symptoms, and a lot of people that come to me, they tell me, I've been to the ER 30 times because I thought I was having a heart attack,
Mm.
and it's anxiety. So yeah, it
Wow.
creates a lot of real physical symptoms: diarrhea, constipation, uh, just gut issues.
What's the difference between anxiety and depression?
So anxiety is that fear, right? Like something's going
Mhm.
to happen. It sometimes isolates you. You start avoiding things because of the symptoms and how horrible it is, that you start
Mhm.
avoiding doing things that you love to do.
Mhm.
Depression is a mood disorder that affects your mood. You get sad, you start crying. Also, some of people that have depression don't want to go out, don't want to do stuff. They feel a lot of fatigue.
Mhm.
And it sometimes goes hand in hand. A lot of people that suffer from anxiety, some will get depression. Not everyone. I always tell people, not everyone. But yeah, that's the difference. Mood
Uh,
disorder and anxiety is more of a uh, nervous system disorder.
mhm. And is there a so there are those obvious symptoms, heart palpitations and blurry vision and everything that you mentioned, but is there a hidden anxiety? Can somebody have anxiety and not know they're having anxiety?
Yeah, so there high functioning anxiety, where you
Mm.
feel the anxiety but you end up doing things. There's a lot of people
Mm.
that they stay busy, right? And so they work, or they start a new project, or they just go to avoid the feelings of anxiety. There's also people that have just thoughts, fear and doubt. They never really get physical symptoms, but they have the thoughts of, ooh, I really don't want to go, so let me just cancel. Whether
Mm.
it's a social event, or you want to start a business and you have all these thoughts, these fear and doubts that pop into your mind, that's anxiety. And usually
Mm.
with those thoughts, the amygdala creates those fears and those doubts to keep us safe. It thinks, what if you fail? And so failure to the amygdala is danger. And so
Mm.
it prevents you from starting the business because it wants to keep you safe from failure. So that usually people don't really have physical symptoms, but they have the thoughts.
So the last few years, it's keep going on. I mean, like this, it's not stopping since COVID. I just feel like so many things happened in this world that are extremely crazy, like all the wars and natural disasters and the big elections, and people on both sides are like getting so anxious and worried. Um, you told me before we started that there is an increase in anxiety in the last few years or 2 years.
From the past 5 years, I contributed to anxiety, I mean, to COVID. But in the past 5 years, there's been a 350% increase in anxiety diagnosis.
350, not 50, 350. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. And I see it, right? I think after the pandemic caused a lot of anxiety for everyone. But I do think that the actual virus caused and really affected the nervous system. And because it affects your nervous system, then it's easier for us to feel that anxiety. But yeah, 350% increase.
Yeah, that's crazy. Um And so, for all the anxious people in the audience, which is everybody, hey, we're not alone. We're all listen. Me too. We all have our like. I live in Israel now. Talking about anxiety, like seriously, you hear a siren, you get anxious, whether you like it or not. Especially when you're in the playground. Like I'm in the playground with my little one, and all of a sudden, like you're like, shoulder, where are we going? I mean, it's like even if you're a calm person or trying to be a calm person, just hearing that loud noise or the explosions that come after it, um, it's not easy. Yeah. So you like I feel like I'm like calm, calm, everything's amazing, life's good, and then well, it's like all of a sudden I noticed that not the last one today, but a few days ago, and we were in an open area and like in a what was it like we were in the library actually, but I noticed my heart was racing and I was having a hard time breathing, almost like gasping for air. And I wasn't worried that we're not going to make it or anything, but something was triggered. So I do a lot of meditations, mindfulness, somatic release breathing. I have a huge toolbox of the things that I know to do that I not always do. But then there is a trigger and it's back again. What do you know? What do you do when the trigger happens?
Yeah. So the amygdala, which is the part of the brain that creates the anxiety, it keeps a list of triggers, right? So it's trying to protect you. So I always say, and I try to explain it like an overprotective parent. When we
Hmm.
know that our children get hurt or there's danger, we keep a list, right? So if our child got a rash with a new detergent, then we're going to stay away from that.
Hmm.
When they fall, uh, I don't know, we're at a restaurant and the floor is really slippery, then you're gonna be careful not to take them there, or you're just gonna be very cautious about that. That's the way the amygdala works. It keeps track of everything that it feels is danger, and those become triggers. So it's trying to protect you. It's trying to tell you, hey, last time you were there, this happened. Last time that you saw that person, you were upset. Last
Hmm.
time that you went to that restaurant, you couldn't breathe. And so it
Hmm.
keeps track of all the triggers. And so sometimes without even us realizing or even remembering a trigger, the amygdala does remember. So I always tell people, if you know you have triggers, work on those triggers and find out the root cause of what the trigger and why it became a trigger. And working
Mm.
on that really, really helps. I usually recommend therapy, of course, um, because the mindfulness, meditation, all that is great. But if there are triggers, it's really, really hard to ever get rid of anxiety if you're not really focusing on eliminating those triggers.
So let's think about a trigger like a siren. Pretty obvious. Siren equals a lot of unpleasant things and things that you saw in the news. And I mean, there are so many, you remember this, you remember that. It happens in a split second, but it happens to your brain really quickly. Um, how do like, let's say a siren, how do I go back to detect the cause of a siren? It's an obvious thing. How can I like stop being scared of it?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously you need to be alert, right?
Hmm.
When you hear sirens, we can't eliminate that because you're in a country where it's happening. Just this morning
Hmm.
it happened. So, if you can switch your mind to, okay, this is an alarm. This is me needing to do something.
Hmm.
Um and if there are triggers, let's say that you automatically think, or actually I would tell you, okay, next time you feel that trigger, or
Hmm.
you there's a an alarm, um and you get really anxious, I want you to ask yourself, what am I thinking right now? And so if your thoughts are
Mm.
going to, what if something happens, what if this, what if that, they're going into more irrational thoughts,
Mhm.
and nothing is really happening. Yes, there's an alarm, but you're safe in your bunker.
Mhm.
um what else can you do but go into your bunker? You've already done what you need to do. And
Yeah.
so usually it's the thoughts. If there is a trigger, the mind goes to worst case scenario. What if this, what if that? And I want you to always remember that the brain doesn't know the difference. The amygdala doesn't know the difference between visualizing and it
Mm.
actually happening. So
Right.
when you're triggered by something, you start thinking of the worst case scenario. The trigger
Right.
of watching the news and watching, all these horrible things happening. And so if your mind is going there, the
Mhm.
amygdala is thinking, this is happening, get out of there. And so it's going to create that anxiety.
Just this morning, there was a rocket fell on a kindergarten, and thank God, like the teachers took all the kids to the safe area, and nobody got hurt. But it's like you hear something like that in the news, and then it's pretty frightening. And I was kind of pissed off at myself. I was like, I know all this mindset thing. Why is my heart racing right now? Heart, stop. Why are you racing? It was almost like there was a fight between the conscious and the unconscious. Like my conscious logical self was like, everything's fine, slim chances, blah, 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 blah. We're safe. Believe in God. But then my heart went, like I just felt the heart palpitations. It didn't happen for a very long time, and we did what we needed to do. We gathered all the kids, we told them stories, um, and then we went to the playground, back to the playground, back to normal life. It's a pretty odd life here. It's like, war, okay, playground again. Um, um, so maybe you can give me some tools at the moment where like I have to like take the action, but yet like be mindfulness and be like, oh, why is this heart racing right now?
Yeah. I would ask you to just tell yourself not to fear it. Like, I know what it is. I know
Mm-hmm.
it's anxiety. When
Mm-hmm.
we start fearing the symptoms, that's when anxiety continues and continues and continues.
Okay.
There's also an incredible tool that I always tell people is, I teach it to my patients, but it's one of the techniques that a lot of my patients think it's not going to work or they stop using it. But the people that use it frequently, they really, really, really get results because you're training your brain not to go to the worst case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And that's tapping, EFT tapping. And
Oh,
the way I
tapping. Okay.
teach it, yeah. So if you
Yes.
know already tapping, I teach it to do it 3 rounds. So the first round, you're going to say exactly the way you feel, because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the amygdala is giving you these thoughts so you could be aware. and cautious and run out of harm's way if there's harm. And so sometimes when we try to be like, don't think about it, don't think about it, don't think about it, the thoughts get,
Be brave, be strong. It's not happening. I'm good.
yeah.
I'm cool at mindset. I teach mindset. Blah 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 blah.
You're like, I need to, I got this, I got this. And then we don't feel it, right? But it's the amygdala trying to tell you, no, there is harm, there is harm. So the more we try to not think about it, the amygdala is trying to protect us. It's like an overprotective parent. If the child is going to harm's way and they're telling you, I'm fine, mom, I'm fine, mom, are you going to just allow them to go? No. If you see them going into harm's way, you're going to do whatever it takes to get them to stop. And that's what the amygdala does. And so if you are able to say it out loud, so the first round, I always tell people to say exactly what you're thinking. I feel like something bad's going to happen. I feel like I'm going to die. I feel like I'm having a heart attack. And you can say everything that you feel about the situation, about how you feel, your thoughts. And if you say them out loud, the amygdala kind of relaxes a bit because it says, okay, she knows the thoughts that I'm giving her. She's not ignoring them. She's saying them out loud. So you're acknowledging the thoughts. And I always recommend doing 2 deep breaths in between the first, second, and the third round. And so the second round, you do 2 deep breaths. The second round should be more believable thoughts. What is real? And when you look around and you're like, okay, we're in the bunker. We're safe. This is where I need to be right now. My kids are here. Nothing is really happening right now. This is where we need to be. And I know that I'm going to be fine with my anxiety. When you say that, you're rerouting your thoughts and creating a new neural pathway because of neuroplasticity instead of going down the I'm going to die. Why is my heart palpitating? What if this is my heart is starting to have heart problems? So you say the second round is more rational. You do 2 deep breaths, breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth, in through your nose, out through your mouth. By this third round, you should feel a little better because now the amygdala has let go of trying to give you those negative thoughts. You're already more rational, and now you can feel a little better, and the third round should be more hopeful.
Okay,
I'm
so the first
fine.
round, I'm acknowledging my feelings. The second
Yes.
one, it's what is logical.
What is logical? The truth. Look around
The
you and
truth,
say, am
like
I
kind of
safe?
mindfulness, like I'm here.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm here. This is all
we
I
live in
can
the
do right
matrix.
now.
This is all a game.
This is all a game. And even you can bring, you can do your prayers, whatever you believe in, whatever is the truth for you,
Hmm.
and mindfulness. And then the third round is more hopeful, like we're going to be fine. We're going to go out, and after this alarm ends, we're going to go and play at the park. I'm going to
Hmm.
cook. And you can even do something like, okay, reward yourself, right? I'm going to cook dinner for my kids, or I'm going to watch a movie with them after this. Whatever it is that
So it sounds amazing, and I don't know how I'm gonna tap with my little one with us because usually when that happens, I don't think about me. I go straight to him, and I try to entertain him, read a story.
how old is he?
He's 5.
He can start tapping.
It's 5.
Wonderful, beautiful age to start.
Really, that's awesome.
Yes. So you
Oh,
can you can start tapping with him. You don't have to tell him how you feel. You can say, "Okay, what are we feeling right now?" And if he's
oh,
scared,
mm-hmm.
"Okay, what are you feeling right now?"
That's
I feel a little
amazing.
scared.
Why did I think about that? Thank you. What a wonderful.
You're helping him. You're teaching him an incredible tool for him to learn at this age that he can use the rest of his life, and you're entertaining him too.
So, for anyone who doesn't know what EFT tapping is, it's a series of you tap with 2 fingers on different places on your head, and some people do the armpit too, right?
Yeah, right
Or
under your armpit, almost like
yes,
where your bra strap is for those of us that, women. And
Yeah.
then and then right under your collarbone there's different meridian points, and that's what we're hitting, the meridian points.
And if you're listening and not watching, hey, you can watch it on YouTube, and maybe you can take us through a series of tapping later. But also, if you're not watching this, you want to know more about tapping, it's really accessible. There are like tons of YouTube videos on tapping and where the points are. Super simple. You can learn it in 5 minutes. And it's a powerful tool because it takes you, it just relaxes your nervous system into parasympathetic, so you're calm. And when you're calm, you can tackle any challenge in a better way.
Yeah, I teach it a little different. It's the
Yes.
3 rounds because of the way the amygdala works.
It's really cool. I love it. So, acknowledging logic and hope. I love that. Acknowledge what's happening while tapping, what's logical to what's going on here, which is kind of like mindfulness. Like I feel my butt on the chair.
Mindfulness here and now. What is
Yes. And then hopefulness. Do you want to take us through a series of tapping? What you will? Yeah.
Yeah. So let's say someone is anxious, and it could be anywhere, right? It could be just at the store or at the movies.
Somebody told you that he's voting to somebody you don't like.
Yes. Someone just told you, and is telling you all these political things that don't align with you, and you're getting really anxious. So we start the tapping by you can start here, but we're going to start on the face. I'm just going to do the face just because a lot of people think that they need to do every single meridian point. And I always tell people just to learn 3 or 4, and that's it.
Mm.
It's better than thinking and not being in the moment when you're tapping. So let's do just the face. And so we're going to start. I feel really anxious. I'm really upset, but I feel like I'm going to faint. I feel like I'm having a heart attack. I'm so tired of this anxiety. Breathe in, breathe out. In again, and breathe out. Second round should be the truth. I've never really fainted. I've never really had a heart attack. I've already gone to the doctor and they tell me I'm fine. I know this is just anxiety. And I'm actually pretty safe right now. Breathe in, breathe out. And again, and out. By this time, you should already feel relaxed, a little bit better. And so now it's easier to be hopeful. And so you could even use this. I already feel better. This tapping does really work. I feel relaxed. I know I'm going to be okay. I've got this. Breathe in, breathe out. Last deep breath in and out. I like to close my eyes. It helps me feel a little better. And yeah, it's a very powerful tool again.
You look like a shaman when you do the tapping. I was looking at you. I was like, wow, she does look like all of a sudden I saw you like an ancient soul. Like this is not your first time here on the planet doing this, helping humanity.
I truly believe that's what it is. When I meditate and I teach meditation, I never have anything scripted. Ever in my
Mhm.
life have I had a scripted meditation. And I really just try to like feel people's energy. And so when I do a meditation, everyone's like, "Oh my goodness, like I felt that. I feel it from you." So I try to channel, people's energy, and I truly get into it.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. So, you help kids as well?
I used to see a lot of kids so I just moved to Houston 3 years ago, almost 4 years ago.
Mhm.
I lived in a border town in Texas, McAllen, Texas. And there I did see kids. I saw my specialty was teenagers and adults
Mm-hmm.
with anxiety. But I had a lot of kids that I helped, teenagers that I helped, and then sometimes when their siblings would have problems, their their parents would want me to see them, and so I would see them. But I have a meditation for kids that would be great for your 5 year old on my YouTube. I don't really post on YouTube. It's from 2020 during the pandemic. But the only meditation that I have on YouTube is for children.
That's amazing. I love it. That's amazing. Yeah. I use a lot of like neurolinguistic programming with him and like techniques that I know. I never thought about using tapping, and I would love to listen to your meditation. I'm sure it's amazing. Um, so, what can we do in our everyday life? In our everyday life, what can we do to reduce anxiety, stress? It can be even like the smallest stresses, like, oh my goodness, the house is a mess and I have to tidy up. Uh, it's like the accumulative little things that can cause a lot of stress.
Yes, they add up. So, number one thing that I teach people is don't be hard on yourself. Don't be hard on yourself. And for all of the patients that I see, even the people on the podcast, I tell them if you can only remember one thing of what I teach you is checking in with yourself at least once a week. If there's things going on in your life, of course, you want to check in with yourself a little bit more, but
Mhm,
ask yourself, how do I feel? What am I doing too much of that I need to kind of slow down? Or what am
mm,
I not doing enough of? Am I not taking care of myself? And adding yourself on the list of priorities. As
mm.
women, sometimes we're not on that list.
Oh my goodness, I take myself off of this list daily, and it's a constant reminder to be like, hey, take care of yourself, or else. Yes, I started a new really cool habit because I had some back pain and I found this amazing routine to release back pain. Just a few stretches, and so I do those stretches and I put some meditation music, and it's such a beautiful time for me to just be with myself and with my body. And when I hit those spots that are painful or stressed, or like this is like a chronic pain that I've been carrying for a while now, I I always ask my body, and I'm like, whatever emotional stress that is in this area, please release it. And I breathe it. I breathe it out. I inhale, I exhale, I let it go. And if I just let go, sometimes it's not about adding more. I just let go a little bit more every day. It's going to be phenomenal. I already feel a shift in myself and the way I'm handling my everyday life.
Yeah. Even just giving yourself permission to relax, right? We are so hard on ourselves. So even just by starting, when you start your meditation, tell yourself, I'm
Mhm.
giving myself permission to enjoy this meditation. Because
Yeah.
sometimes we're thinking of what else could I be doing right now? Or what do I need to do after this meditation? And we're not in the moment, we're not mindful. And so allowing yourself to enjoy even just a 5 minute meditation, it doesn't take that
Mhm.
long. The more you meditate, the more you do these things, it becomes easier and easier for you to get into that meditative state faster.
Right. And what I noticed is that my body, like, she has so much wisdom. I try sometimes to control my body and tell her what to do, but if I just let go, it's almost like I'm moving into it's a movement meditation, almost like a slow dance where the body open up the way she wants to open up, not the way I tell her to open up, and just moves. And it's a beautiful thing to be in this zone of even like letting go of what stretches I need to do and just let my body move the way she wants to.
She knows what she needs. Our bodies know what they need.
Yeah, it's awesome. So, stress reduction. So, I it can be movement. What else do you do for stress reduction? Do you have any routines that you work on?
I do deep breathing. I do walking. I tell people you don't have to do a full 2 hour workout or an hour workout. If you don't do anything physically, start walking. If you
Mm.
can walk outside, even better. Going outside in the morning to get that morning sun is really good for sleep, for brain fog, for our overall energy. Sleep is very, very important. If you don't get adequate, good sleep, you're going to be frustrated the next day. It affects our anxiety, it affects our stress, it affects our day, it affects the way we treat people. And so sleep is really important. I ground, I do grounding. I meditate every single day. I've been meditating every single day for the past, I think, 23 years,
Wow.
without failure. Yeah, without skipping a day.
That's
And the
amazing.
way I tell people to incorporate habits is to add them to something you already do. So if you
Mm.
brush your teeth every day, then you can incorporate meditation before or after you brush your teeth. If you take a shower every day, you can do that. If you sleep every day, then incorporate it. So attach it right before or after you a habit that you do every single day. It just becomes easier for it to become a habit.
Yes, amazing. So, what happened if there is insomnia? You wake up in the middle of the night, your body's so tired, but your mind is racing.
Yeah. So I there's a little technique that I teach my patients, because sometimes we have these thoughts because we're afraid we're going to forget the next day, or, oh, what if I forget this, or I need to do this. So training your brain to have worry time right before you go to bed, and not right before, I always say probably about at least an hour before you go to bed,
Mm.
where you get a journal and it's dedicated as a worry journal. So let's say this is your journal. Yeah,
That's
it sounds
amazing.
funny and it sounds simple, but it's so powerful. So you are literally going to have worry time, and you're going to write down everything that you're worried about.
Wow, it doesn't sound as sexy as a gratitude journal or a mastermind journal. It's like a worry journal. Actually, that's the one that will save you.
Yes. So you're going to put down everything that you're worried about. And then you're going to close it and you're going to put your hand on top of it and say, this is where my worries stay. If you do this, your brain starts thinking, hey, we don't have to think about that anymore because we already had it. And if there's other things that you need to think about, it's going to know, hey, this is when we worry. And so you train your brain to not have those nights of, thinking and racing thoughts that keep us up.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then don't look at the time when you're not sleeping. The first thing we want to do is we want to look at our phone. I don't recommend you charge your phone right next to your bed. But we look at our phone, and when we look at the time, we see notifications and we start thinking, oh, let me check my email real quick. Let me check my int. You go down the rabbit hole, and that blue light activates your mind even more. Yeah.
How does so you talked about eating junk food and having more anxiety, probably having more inflammation in your body that contribute to more anxiety because inflammation in the body causes inflammation in the brain that causes more anxiety. How does nutrition play a part in us feeling stress free and more free in general?
So, foods that we eat here in the United States now have a lot of chemicals. And I've been talking about this for many years without causing too much anxiety, right? I don't want people to think like, oh my God, I can't eat anything. But
Mm.
I have an anti anxiety food list that I created years ago, on my website. And I also add foods that help your anxiety.
What are some of those foods?
So some of the foods that cause anxiety are,
No, what causes anxiety is obviously the food coloring, the processed food, packaged food, chemical foods, everything that is in the inside aisles. If you, I think somebody told I saw a video. Somebody said that if you go through the outer section of the supermarket and you don't go into the middle section, you avoid junk food because you go into the produce, meat, fish, tofu, whatever you eat. But what are some foods that are actually relaxing and good for inflammation and anxiety?
So foods that help you with that eliminate inflammation, cherries and almonds. Those two are an amazing snack that I love to eat. That help with anxiety. There's teas, right? Chamomile tea, turmeric and pepper. If you can add it to your food, or you can
All day
find
long.
a tea, turmeric and pepper, so good. That helps inflammation, which helps the neuroinflammation in your brain, and it helps with anxiety. So the pepper will help the turmeric, your body absorb it faster. So if you can do a tea every night or even during the day, that one doesn't cause you to get drowsy or anything. But there's so many different herbs and teas that can minimize the anxiety.
It's amazing. Can you tell me a little bit about your tea brand and what kind of teas are your favorite and why?
Yeah, so I launched Tesana Tea and Wellness. Tesana in Spanish is it heals you.
Mm.
And so it's a wellness tea company. The first few that I launched were anxiety ease. So it has ashwagandha, which is really good for anxiety.
Oh yeah. I just found my ashwagandha. Like I have a whole bag of ashwagandha that I put in a different shelf. I'm like, this should go in my smoothie. Why is it here? And maca. I know mucana is really good for depression.
Yes, even
Yeah.
saffron. So saffron
Mm-hmm.
from the flower.
Mm-hmm.
So saffron is really good for anxiety and but more mainly depression.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I haven't get your Z, so it's for sleep. That has lavender, chamomile. My favorite, I love the anxiety ease tea, but my favorite is a turmeric twist, which has turmeric, pepper. I forgot what other. I have so many now that I forget what they. But it's kind of like a chai tea, um, and
Sounds
it's
good.
really good. That's my favorite tea. I love it just, and I have rheumatoid arthritis and lupus, so it helps my inflammation. So I drink that almost every day.
That's really great idea. I like golden milk, which is just milk with you could put turmeric, a little bit of pepper, and some sweet honey in it. Mm-mm-mm.
Way better than coffee.
I know I still have my coffee at least once a day. Yeah, I went through a period of time where I did not have coffee at all. And then my family came and stayed with me, and they are coffee drinkers. And after they left, I started drinking coffee. Maybe it was like an emotional connection. And now I drink coffee. It's all in the head, everything, all of it. It's all in the head, all of it. Yeah, we can help ourselves, but things like with supplements and it's really great. But at the end of the day, it goes it goes down to your connection with source and how secure you feel in your life, and it's also about your identity. How do you see yourself? And when you see yourself as someone that is more secure in herself, that can conquer challenges no matter what the world is throwing at you, you're strong, you're resilient, and you see yourself as resilient, and you go into that mindset and you meditate for the connection with creation to bring you that resilience. This I think this is the main thing that shifts everything. And of course, all those other things, supplements, nutrition, it all work together. um but I feel like the more you're connected, the more you'll have the desire to take care of yourself and drink that cup of tea, right?
I agree with you because with
Mhm.
anxiety, yes, all these triggers can trigger the anxiety, but it's more than anything, you start fearing your own body. And when you don't
Mm,
trust your own body, it's really hard to heal. So if
right.
you can trust your own body, You don't need the supplements. You don't need the teas. You don't need the medication. You can learn to not fear your body. You can learn to be comfortable with the signs that the body is giving you and know that your body heals. It's wanting to heal, it knows what to do. Trust it.
Beautiful. Dr. Lisa, what are your three top tips to living a stellar life?
Always listen to your heart. Sit with your emotions, with your feelings. Ask yourself, what do I need? What do I want? What do I deserve? What do I desire? um, Loving yourself, self love is really important. I always tell people when you work on self love, everything else gets easier. The red flags in people, your relationships, um, your confidence. So, working on self love and then living a healthy lifestyle, whatever that means for you. Everyone is different. You don't have to go and do all the wellness tools and tips that everybody tells you to do. Find what works for you. If you can find what works for you, do it. Your life will be beautiful.
Right, it's so beautiful. I loved what you said at the end because sometimes it's the paradox of choice when you think you're supposed to do so many things or have to choose between so many modalities, you end up doing nothing because it feels overwhelming. So if you just take one little baby step every day, just one little baby step, you'll see that at the end of the year you're going to shift completely. So many steps. um so where can people find you? How can they connect with you? Where can they find the beautiful teas that you offer?
Yeah. So I'm at the Anxiety Doctor, and it's DR at the end on all social media platforms. Tesana Tea and Wellness is tesanawellness.com. You can find all my teas there. And you can find my podcast, the Anxiety Doctor Podcast, on Spotify, Apple, and all the other places that you can listen to podcasts.
Beautiful. Amazing. Thank you so much, Dr. Lisa. This was a pleasure. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. Thank you for the tapping practice and all the beautiful tips and words of wisdom that you shared with us today.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And thank you, listeners. Remember to always listen to your heart, love yourself, live a healthy lifestyle, and have a stellar life. This is Orion. Till next time.